Whoops. Hello, I'm George Gay, and I'd like to talk to you about computer crime, which is going to make at least a 2-hour long movie. Instead, let me focus on more old style types of computer crime. It probably is a strong argument to make that whenever there's been technology, there's been a way to take advantage of it. And so computer crime tends to be specialized in the sense that it relates to, some of the things that are possible with computers. Yet, in many ways, this is a variant on a traditional kind of illegal activity. There was a time, for example, that people could take advantage of the phone system by using a series of tones to be able to subvert the computers used to charge for long-distance calls. In fact, I believe there's evidence that a toy premium in cereal, when used, could issue the right tones necessary to take advantage of the computers so as to be able to make long-distance calls for free. Times have changed, of course, and that tones may not very well be able to work with computers that no longer have switching machines. Keep in mind, too, that when I say computer crime, I'm looking at crimes that involve computer technology. Clearly, there are crimes where computers are part of them but aren't material. Theft of a computer, for example, is basically just taking the machine. So theft in that instance could be of any particular item. But computer-type crimes do involve the use of the technology in some sort of a way to take advantage of the resources of another. And although the term has been used somewhat elastically, the idea of hacking involves the use of technology to take advantage of another's property. For example, when I say property, I mean intellectual property. At least in the United States, intellectual property involves a range of items, such as a patent or copyright. A patent is issued by the federal government where it relates to an invention that does something new. The patent holder is going to be able to license the patent for a certain number of years to be able to make profit. Copyright, it protects creative content so that for a fixed period of time, the copyright holder can license the use of the content and make money off of it. And for the most part, copyright violations are fairly rare because there's so much content out there, and the question is, why would you want to use it? Nonetheless, there is intellectual property that could be the content for contemporary computer crime. For example, a notorious instance in the early 2000s involved a young man who was taking the intellectual content, literally the content, from a database and making it available to others. And at that time, it was considered a computer crime, and the individual involved was prosecuted and received a sentence. So there can be ways in which computers can facilitate certain types of crimes. But for the most part, when you think about something like computer crimes, you're looking at something where the technology becomes a core aspect or element of it. You can, of course, imagine instances where computer technology is used to acquire information. Typically, for example, financial records that would allow individuals to be able to gain income. But there is even simpler ways of using computer technology to commit crimes. That, for example, as you likely know, there's a lag time between, say, using an ATM and how the sums withdrawn end up getting debited from an account. I believe there was an instance, again, in the early 2000s, where a gang figured out what the lag time was and ended up engaging in theft in London, and then were coordinating with a gang in Manhattan to take advantage of that fact. Clever, it did require a little planning, but ultimately, as you might imagine, this turned out to be a criminal enterprise that led to prison time for all involved. What I've just mentioned here is a broad overview of things. Any one of these activities could be due much greater investigation, but nonetheless something to consider. Thanks then.